What's the deal, my people? You know it is the Don Totally Teflon, and I'm back at you with another one. And this one is Game of Thrones Season 8 Endgame Theory Predictions. What up to all my people out there? And I am joined by a special guest, a member of the Small Council. I've not had a chance to chat with this man in a while. I know you have not seen him in a while, and that is why he is here with Teflon TV with me. My man, someone that I truly can say that I'm proud to say is my friend Charlie in Westeros.
Thank you, Tony. That's really awesome of you. I really appreciate the warm welcome. It's been a while, needless to say, but it's kind of cool being back on YouTube, and obviously for the first time in a group chat with you. It's pretty unique, actually, because I think we've been doing YouTube for what is it, like 5 years now? I think we started around the same time, actually, as well. Back in season 3 started. And this is actually the first time it's been you and me discussing on a YouTube channel. So this is kind of a cool experience right now. You know, it's kind of like everything coming full circle.
Yeah, we started about the same time, about 5 years ago. Me, you, and I think James may have been like a little bit right
after, yeah.
Oh, right after or before? It's like right around the same era, the first wave, or whatever you want to call it, phase 1.
Pretty much the originals, the OGs.
Yeah. Phase 1 of the got people, you know, we started and stuff like that. And me and Charlie always had a good time because if you don't know Charlie is a big Daenerys fan. Obviously, I'm a big Stannis fan, so we always had a great back and forth over that situation and stuff like that.
Oh my God, lots of fun on the Small Council channel, that's for sure.
No doubt about it. So what up to everybody chilling with us in the chat? What up to Herb Coswell? What up to Eduardo Blanco? What up to Fernandez T, my man? What up to Tubbs 1971? What up to the Queen of Ice and Fire? What up to Tavon Targaryen? What up to everybody out there? What up to Lord Jon Snow? We're glad you're up here with us in the chat and everything else and hanging out with us and stuff like that. And so we're going to say, Charlie, we're going to get into this a little bit. Last season, what was your overall rating for last season?
Oh man, last season. See, it's funny. I haven't been thinking about Game of Thrones in such a while, so going back to think about last season, it's kind of like oh God, what to think about it. It was definitely a whirlwind of a season. You know, 8 episodes. Was it 8 episodes? Yeah, it was 8 episodes, right? Or 7? 7, I think. Yeah. It was 7.
Yeah, it was 7 episodes.
It felt very condensed. I remember thinking. It was like a lot of hit and go in the sense that, you know, there'd be elements where things went really, really fast, a lot of things happening in one episode, and all of a sudden it would just slow down another episode, and then things would speed up again. So I guess a whirlwind of a season could be the best way to describe the last one. I think in a lot of ways, last season kind of resolved a lot of questions people had in terms of the series, in terms of, you know, lots of major theories and spoilers, predictions, especially, you know, related to Jon Snow's parentage. You know, the whole R plus L equals J theory was finally resolved.
Yeah, but still up for debate for some people.
Hey, you know, I guess some people aren't always convinced of stuff. I know that James Johnson, James of Thrones, is still clinging on to a few of his own theories that you and I disagree with, but it'll be interesting to see what happens in the end with some of those. I think there are still some theories that are left to answer, though, some really big ones still. Obviously, the Endgame is one thing, but there's some other minor ones like Cleganebowl. You know, that's kind of one of the big theories that have been going on forever and ever. And now is the time where hopefully, we'll get an answer this coming season, 2019.
Yeah, without a doubt. I would say first-time person here. I'm going to butcher your name. I am from Queens, New York. I'm not good at pronouncing names. If you would spell it out for me, I would definitely see it. I don't know if Charlie has the chat up, but
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
Someone up here. You see first-time here says hello.
Man, I gotta scroll over here.
It's right after Amber with the cheers of the glass bottles. It's like Maranthe. I think it's Maranthe.
How high up are we going here?
I don't know how many people went, but it's Maranthe. What up to you, Maranthe? Thank you for being here, chilling with us the first time. What up?
Oh yeah, there you go. I found her. Yeah, Maranthe. I think you got that right.
Is that Maranthe?
I think you're right. Yeah.
But the last name I pronounced.
Arances.
There you go. You see, Charlie got that accent. Charlie's French, you know. You're going to know that.
Yeah, Charlie's from Quebec.
He could speak that for you all day. What up to Smoker Hontus? What up to my girl, Nancy T. Fernandez T. Thank you so much for the super chat, $20. And he wants to know, will the small council meeting again for season 8? I would have to think so. Charlie, you're basically the host of the small council. Are we getting together for season 8 or what?
I don't see what's stopping us. I mean, we did it every season so far since season 4, I think. So, it would make sense that we keep it going. I haven't spoken to James Thrones in a little while, but I'm down. I know you're down, Tony, I assume. So, I'm pretty sure the other small council members are down. So, I see no reason why not.
No doubt. What up to AU Pack Mule? What up to K Love? We got a bunch of people coming up in there chilling with us. I'm so happy. This is kind of impromptu. You know what I mean? We just jumped on this right here. I got in contact with Charlie and we set it off and he was willing to jump on there with me. And I'm so happy. What up, Shannon C? What up, Jasmine B? All right, let's go into it, Charlie. Theon Greyjoy.
Oh,
we got, what did we see from last season? We seen basically a transformation of seeing Theon transforming back into Reek and then breaking that mold after taking the knees to the non-dick, the non-balls. I guess he has nothing down there. And then overcoming that and headbutting the Ironborn captor and basically, I guess, taking back control of the Ironborn fleet. From that, what do you think that we're going to see with Theon? His sister is kind of connected to it. So if you want to talk about that or Euron, anything like that, let's put all that in there. What do you think is going to go on with Theon this season?
All right. Well, I think to talk about Theon's role this coming season, you almost have to talk about what went down last season, obviously. I think the major thing that happened is that Yara was captured by Euron. So I think one of the Theon arc this season is going to be him trying to save his sister in a weird kind of flip from I think, what was it, 3 or 4 seasons ago when she was the one trying to save him and ultimately failing. My hope, obviously, for him is that he succeeds. I was a little bit disappointed in Theon last season, though, because, season 6, I think it was the season 6 anyway, the very end, he rescues Sansa, he throws down Miranda, he has this big redemption arc. You think, all right, he's back on his A game, no more Reek. And then it feels like he kind of just, threw that to the wind with the whole encounter with Euron. Granted, I get that there are some elements that kind of complicate things. There wasn't much he could do, really. At the same time, it did feel like it was a bit of a cop-out on the show creator's part to almost hint back at him going back into his Reek form, as you kind of mentioned there. But then he came back out of it once again by fighting that Ironborn on the shores of Dragonstone. So, speaking broadly, I think he at least has to try to save his sister. I think, a poetic justice type ending for him would be if he actually succeeds, but, ends up sacrificing himself in the process, kind of proving that maybe he does actually have some balls. Other than that, though, I can't really see where else he could go. Again, you could tie him into defeating his uncle Euron, but that also, in a way, ties into the I guess in the way that could tie into the books in an equal measure, considering the Euron rivalry with Yara is kind of parallel in the books, although we're not quite there yet, of course, in the book series. So to wrap my thoughts up, I guess, is that Theon is going to succeed in saving Yara, sacrificing himself in the process, and hopefully offing his uncle. I'll throw that out there.
I think that that would be so easy for him. I think that would be very storybookish. This guy was tortured, who was held captive as a child, turned against the Starks, got tortured for it. Now he's going to redeem himself by saving his sister. And I don't like it, me personally. I think Theon needs to die, me personally. And if you want to, he's going to try to save his sister. If he dies in trying to do so, maybe that gives him a little redemption, but he can't get away with it. And he can't be the one to kill Euron. I do not want to see that whatsoever, because that would just be too, if it's his sister, like if Euron cuts his sister's tongue out and then Theon rescues her and then somehow she gets into a fight and then she kills him, that's believable to me. She's a fighter, she's a warrior, she could do that. But Theon, to come from what he did to all of a sudden be able to kill Euron, especially the Euron we see in the books, I can't see it being possible of this guy killing him. Now I know this Alfie Allen's a very good actor, and They want to give him some good roles, so maybe it's possible they do that. But if they do that, I think that'd be a whack ending. I don't think that's good at all.
So it sounds like you don't think he's going to kill Euron. Who do you think will off Euron in that case? Because I feel like you have an inkling towards someone.
Well, I always said that Euron's going to marry Cersei. That's going to go down next season. And I think that I would like to see if Euron dies. I think that somebody has to get eaten by a dragon. I think that when you go back and you look at the Dance of Dragons from back in the day, that's what's going to be the prequel series, guaranteed. There's proof of that. There's guaranteed that's what we're going to do. You always hear dragons eating people. We haven't seen a dragon really eating nobody important. You know what I mean?
That's very true.
I think that before it's all said and done, someone has to be eaten by a dragon. All these things, we have to check boxes. Boxes need to be checked. And eaten by a dragon is one of these boxes that needs to be checked. So could it be Cersei? I don't know. I think she's going to get strangled. So I think Euron. Euron's the perfect person to be roasted alive and eaten by a dragon.
So it sounds like you're giving. Maybe I'm presuming too much here, but it almost sounds like you think maybe Daenerys will indirectly have a role to play there.
Well, it could be Daenerys, it could be Jon Snow. We're going to see Daenerys and Jon Snow, I think, on Dragonback, right? We both agree with that. I think that's going to definitely happen. So, I think someone has to get eaten by a dragon. There's could be a bunch of people. All right. So we have people in the chat are saying that they think that it's quite possible that the Mountain could be AU Pac-Man. So the Mountain could be eaten by a dragon. That's quite possible. He's big enough to be eaten by a dragon. There'll be a way to stop him. And Cersei, obviously, even if she gets strangled by Jamie, maybe she gets eaten after. Varys is also possibility. I think he may get burnt. I don't know about eaten, but just burnt, because Daenerys hasn't have her person really eat her dragons eat people. Only the slavers, other people, she just having them burn them and that's it. So I think someone's got to get eaten by a dragon. Who do you think, if you agree with that someone may get eaten by a dragon? Who do you think would get eaten by a dragon?
That's a good question. You definitely present a good argument for Euron being eaten by a dragon. See, if it was last season, I would have said that Sam's brother and father would have been perfect candidates, obviously, but they just got burned alive. They were never eaten. The only other main, it would have to be one of the major, I guess, villains in the series. The only other major one I can really think of is Cersei, and I guess the Night's King. But I think the Night's King kind of falls in a whole other category than those two others. So Cersei theoretically, but at the same time, there's the whole theory of the Valonqar prophecy. Granted, it wasn't mentioned in quite the same way in the show as it was in the books, so it could go down completely differently for Cersei. Man, that's a good question, honestly.
I mean, the fact that they didn't bring it up, it's definitely a possibility that Cersei's ending could be a little bit different. Maybe she is a person that gets eaten by a dragon. Someone in the chat is saying that they think it would be crazy if Danny in the end was eaten by a dragon. We've seen that, in the past, right, with the princess and with the blacks and the greens. We've seen it in the end. She eaten by her own. I don't know if it's her own dragon, but she got cut in the breast and then got eaten by a dragon. Now, that seems a little crazy to me, that the dragon is so drawn to blood that a little cut in the breast made him eat him. That is a little unbelievable to me, but it was written, so that's the way it goes. So that's a little crazy to me.
You're talking about Queen Rhaenys, right?
Like that blood all of a sudden just drove that dragon, because the dragon wasn't trying to eat her before he cut her, and then he cuts her. So implying that drip of blood made that dragon want to eat her from bleeding. I don't. Never seen dragons so blood hungry that as soon as it smells blood, it goes like a shark. I didn't see dragons like sharks.
They don't seem to get into that type of detail in the show either. So I'm a little bit doubtful if they would make it, that specific. But I could definitely, in a way, it would be weirdly poetic, if not, maybe not poetic, but it would be a nice mirroring to the the Princess and the Queen short story, Dance of the Dragons. If this woman who's trying to claim all of Westeros and rule over it as the rightful queen ends up getting eaten by, one of the weapons that she tried to use to conquer the land.
Yeah, it would be crazy. Look, Danny gets eaten by a dragon. That's a good gap. I know you hate to hear that, Charlie.
Just a little bit. But I'll give you your pass. You can throw him to Stannis.
Yeah, of course. I don't think it's realistic for it to happen to Danny. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but anyone else can be eaten by a dragon. Anyone in the chat, if you have any ideas of who you think could be eaten by a dragon, please put it in there. Someone's saying Varys. Definitely Varys. I think Varys, without a doubt, is going to get burned, but I don't know if Varys is going to be eaten. It's different to be eaten.
And being burned alive.
Yeah.
Well, in terms of, like, because you mentioned you think Varys is going to get burnt by a dragon. Do you think he's double crossing Danny, or he has some other ulterior motives going on? Is that why you kind of suspect him as falling victim to a dragon in the TV show?
Well, we got Melisandre's telling him that he's going to die next season, next time she sees him. So he's definitely going to die. I just think that he's going to do something sinister. He's always been sinister. We've seen people get caught in lies. Sir Jorah Mormont got, exiled by Danny by getting caught in some lie. I think he's going to get caught in some type of lie, and it's going to make Danny have to burn him. We got Herb Coswell says Qyburn or Melisandre. Big E says Jamie Lannister by Viserion. Shannon C says Melisandre. K Love says Melisandre. We got another. Carlos Coleman says Melisandre. Sir LT Giles, my man, says Littlefinger in the books. Daryl Galt says Mel dies by fire.
Yeah, see, Mel was one person that came to mind as well, but I still think that her story is very, very intricately linked with Arya's, especially in the TV show. And I base that especially on that one scene that they had together, I think in season 3. And also the fact that, it was more or less implied last season that when Mel comes back in the story, she's pretty much going to get killed off. And I don't know, I have this gut instinct that Arya is the one who's going to kind of play a role in that.
You think Arya is going to take out Melisandre?
I have a hunch. I don't know why. They had that weird exchange they had in season 3 where Mel just stared into Arya's soul, and it was almost like a look of fear, the way she described the many eyes looking back at her. Obviously, she was describing, the path that Arya was eventually bound to take. But, it wasn't like Melisandre to be so fearful of something in my mind.
No doubt. When you have, like I said, we got to check boxes here. And this is a box that needs to be checked. We had her grab her by her cheeks and look her in her eyes and say, we're going to meet again. So they have to meet again. Now, will this be Melisandre as an old woman that she won't notice, that she won't know who she is when she meets her again? Or will it be the regular Melisandre? Or could it be Melisandre, resurrected as a White Walker, and then Arya kills her in that form?
That's a good question.
She's got the Valyrian steel dagger. So to me, with the Valyrian steel dagger, there's only one reason you're giving her this. She's killing a White Walker. A White Walker's going down.
Well, you mentioned something there, the whole White Walker thing. Do you remember a few seasons ago, there was I think it was a statue or an action figurine of Melisandre that was in the works, and James Johnson shared it with us. And it was like she was all blue. Maybe I'm reading you wrong, but do you think maybe she's going to be turned into a White Walker herself, or at least a white?
Yeah. And I definitely, I remember I shared it with James.
Oh, you're the one. Oh, okay, my bad. I'll give credit where credit's due then. Yeah. No, you shared it with us. Yeah.
It's all good. Yeah, I think that she's definitely a Night's Queen, but from show purposes, they may not go Night's Queen. They may just go white, like they've done with the Ice Dragon. Even though in the show they are calling that an Ice Dragon, it's really a white dragon. You know what I mean? So I think that they may do Night's Queen with her, but it could be White Queen. But if she dies by fire, that's out the window, and because there's gonna be nothing left of her. So it all depends. It all depends how she's gonna go out and stuff like that. But I do think if she does get converted to like a white Melisandre like that, and Arya takes her out, I think that would work. It checks the box.
And that cat spot dagger, Valyrian blade,
what they brought that out, and they had it in the book with Sam. Like it's an old dagger. This is an old dagger, so there's no reason to bring back that dagger and then specifically put it in the book. If there's not something special is going to happen with this dagger when it's all said and done.
Absolutely. I think actually you mentioned that even a couple of seasons ago about the importance of that dagger. And also the fact that Arya is a smaller person. She uses smaller weapons in general. So it would seem to tie in well with her, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, because we don't have Dark Sister.
No.
So I would think in the books that she would most likely get that. We know that that's a Barbosi blade. right? And it's made for a woman, and she's been trained in water dancing, and all the fighting that we've seen from Arya is water dancing. So nothing that we've seen from fighting that we've gotten is faceless men. Every time she fights like she's like with Serial Pharrell. It's that technique that she's using. She just used the faceless men to change her face here and there, but they didn't really show her any. I mean, the stuff the waif was showing on this, we don't really see her use that. She's always using the water dancing style and stuff with her. So I mean, that's how that would go. We got people here saying that right now. Herb Coswell says Arya kills 2 White Walkers and a white snow leopard, and he's calling it right now. You know, that's quite possible. My girl Sailor Diva saying Arya will kill a Walker but die as well. Let's talk about Arya, Charlie.
Let's do that. Yeah,
we're hearing people saying Arya is gonna die. I hate to even think about Arya dying. And before Ashley Marie, new to this channel, I'm super excited to have you here. Thank you for being in the chat, and thank you for hanging out with us right here. All 102 people so far, 103. Thumbs up this video if you can. We really do appreciate it. Charlie, Arya, we've seen a lot of different things go down with her and Sansa. It seems like they got separated, got back together, and we got a little bit of a mess up here because it seemed like she really fell for Littlefinger's tricks, which to me is ridiculous. That she should have been able to sniff that out. All that training of lie training, that's what it basically was. But the producer's saying that she really fell for it. What do you see going on with Arya?
Well, I want to just address what you were saying about the whole thing with Littlefinger. That was one story arc that really bothered me with season 7. It felt like it was an easy way out for Littlefinger's character. You know, he's been built up this whole time as such a major game player, only for him to kind of, you know, basically fall down like that in season 7 by playing this stupid little sneaky game with Arya and Sansa. It was one of those story arcs that felt like a bit of a cop out in this, kind of like the Sand Snake arc or the Dorne arc in the show, in the sense that it was too much maybe material or too many ideas that to cover in such a short time, so they kind of had to reduce it in some way to just get rid of Littlefinger and move on to the major storyline at play. Now, Arya in season 8 and what her fate holds. See, originally I wouldn't think that she would be killed off. However, I remember reading, I think it was even from like a stupid Instagram post, about how the show creator said that most, or at least many major characters will be killed off in season 8. And that does make me a little bit fearful for Arya. Now, one person who's related to Arya that I do think will be killed off, and this you're going to think maybe this is a little bit too Disney, fantastical, cliche, but I do think that Nymeria, some point early on in the next coming season, the only season left, will make a reappearance, and she'll sacrifice herself to protect Arya from either an onslaught of White Walkers or Whites or whatever the case may be when they finally reach the North. So I think we're gonna witness Nymeria's demise in order for Arya to escape. So with that in mind, it would seem a little unfortunate to have Arya survive maybe in episode 2 or 3 of, well, maybe more like episode 2 of season 8, only to be killed off in episode 5 or 6. It just seems a little. It seems like a little, like not like a cop out, but it's a little disappointing, I guess, for lack of better words.
I think that when we seen her take the knife to the gut and the twist, that's the whole thing about the knife to the gut when she took it. It wasn't just put in there; it was twisted in there. That means something. The twist is significant, and she survived that pretty easy, right? From not going to a doctor, but going to an actress, right? So she just ran into Christy Alley, Gwyneth Paltrow, and they patched her up, right? The twist, they patched her up, and they got her back in the game. I don't know how they can go to kill her after putting her through that. So that's why I don't really think Arya is going to die. Number one, I'm a Stannis fan. Arya is my second favorite character. That's all I got left. No way I'm ever gonna say she's gonna die.
That's definitely fair.
I'm telling you the truth. I'm not gonna say, but I truly don't think that she's going to die, because I think that, and we could talk about the Starks, the lineage of the Starks is in jeopardy right now. When you really look at who can carry on the Starks name, there's not a lot of people there, right? So I don't know how many Starks we can get rid of. Are there going to be no Starks at the end of the story? At the end of the Starks line ends at the end of the story? Because when you look at the people there that can carry on the name, there's not that many. So I think that Arya will have to live without a doubt. I don't think they give us her almost dying to killing her.
Right.
The next season. I don't think they're going to go that route.
Yeah. No, I'm inclined to agree with you on that as well. Obviously, no, we just have, if you exclude Jon Snow, of course, we only have Arya, Sansa, and Bran. I have my suspicions about Bran maybe not making it to the end. But another point with Arya is that, you know, they've also built up this huge story. Well, maybe not a huge story arc, but a significant one with her and Gendry, especially the early seasons. And it almost seemed like they were hinting at maybe something forming between them later on as well. I mean, it would be kind of interesting if Gendry, you know, eventually does inherit the Stormlands and I guess marries Arya, for lack of better words, and they continue their lineage there.
But then he would be a Baratheon, so the baby would be a Baratheon.
True.
So that would still not solve the problem between the Starks lineage name. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's very true. That's very true. But in some ways, you know, the show has kind of killed off a lot of the main houses already. With respect to the Starks, I guess Sansa is kind of really the only person left to carry on the name. But again, it would depend on, you know, on who she ends up being with and what name they choose to take on. If they choose to maintain the name through her, or if they take the name of whoever she marries, if she marries, of course, as well. And then, of course, there's also the possibility of Jon Snow via his mother. But even then, it's not really a Stark. He's more of a Targaryen, technically speaking, if you go by you know, patrilineal naming. So yeah, but you are right to say that she'd basically become a Baratheon in that case, especially if they choose to legitimize Gendry.
So let's go through them real quick of the Stark carry on the name. So we have Rickon's dead, so that can't be him. We got Jon Snow. Is he going to be a Stark or a Targaryen when this is all said and done? I would think the fact that his birthright was so hidden that in the end he's going to be a Targaryen. Why hide it this whole time? Just say, no, I've rejected, I'm going to be a Stark. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, well, honestly, this is one thing I might surprise you a bit with, but recent events, maybe not recent events, but thinking over events in the series and thinking over Daenerys, we can talk about Daenerys in a sec, but I have a hunch, you know, for the first time in a while that I don't think Daenerys is going to make it to the end, and I think Jon Snow is going to be the one to really rule the Seven Kingdoms, or at least what remains of them, and you know, that would basically mean that he's carrying on the Targaryen side of things rather than the Stark side of things, especially if you want to kind of view him as a legitimate ruler of Westeros, and especially if I guess if they choose to have him ride, you know, the other last dragon, Rhaegal, it would make sense for his heritage to be acknowledged in that way. So in a way, I guess I don't think he's going to be focused on the North so much as he will be focused on ruling from King's Landing, or ruling the entirety of the lands of Westeros when all said and done.
I agree with you on that. So after that, I think we have Bran Stark, and I don't think that I don't even know if what he has works down there anymore. So I don't think he's even a candidate
He doesn't
to carry on the line. So we have, last but not least, we have this Arya and Sansa. That's it. And so, and they're two females, basically. So if they marry somebody, they're gonna lose the Stark name. So it's hard to even see how the Stark name survives.
That's true, but I mean, again, they could very well cause some form of social upheaval, I guess. And you know, look at Cersei Lannister. She's not necessarily passed on her name to any of her children, or her, I guess, her pregnancy right now, really. But it would seem to indicate that, you know, she's a queen ruling in her own name, and therefore she would be theoretically passing on, I guess, her own line, technically speaking. We can also look to other locations in Westeros. Like I know with Bear's Island and the Mormonts. I think with Jorah's aunt, I think it's Mage. It's like they've been passing down, or they're basically passing down the line through the Mormont name, but via women, and the men in their, I guess, marriage or in their unions aren't really acknowledged in amongst the women there. So I guess they could have maybe go that route and have Sansa, you know, in this new modern wave in Westeros, have her acknowledged as, you know, Sansa Stark, as a Stark, and whoever she has as her offspring would become Starks as a result as well. But again, you know, that's
Yeah, I think if Sansa, me personally, I would think Sansa's going to marry Edric Storm.
Mm.
I think I think she'll marry him in the books. And I
Uh-huh.
think the fact that when you see the other Edric from Edric Dane, and his nickname just happens to be Ned. So when you see the Ned nickname is associated with the Edric name, I think that if that Edric Storm marries Sansa Stark, he would change his name to Stark and not take the Baratheon name. Kind of like the same way, like a Bael the Bard type situation, or his bastard. The Stark line was about to end then, and then they took his bastard, they took his son from the girl and made that the Stark. I think it would be a type of situation like that. Then you would have the Robert Baratheon, Ned Stark, getting together like they wanted to, their son getting together with their daughter. You would have that. I think she would have a newfound respect for bastards now after everything with Jon Snow. I don't think she would look down upon them like that, especially with Edric, because he's a great bastard, basically.
Yeah.
Because you would have to consider him a great bastard because he's the bastard of the king.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, you mentioned who you think Sansa would marry in the books, but what about the TV show? Do you have any inclination or thoughts on that?
If anyone, I think you have to go with the guy who's taking Edric Storm's place, Gendry. I think he's taking a lot of spot, right? So I would push him over.
So you think Sansa and Gendry end up together?
I can't see Arya messing with it. Who's gonna mess with that chick? That's a scary situation. She's got a bag of faces by her bed. And this is someone I don't know if I could mess with that chick. This is a hit woman at your bed, a hit hoe. And I don't know if anyone's going to mess with Arya. I don't think she's, Arya, Nymeria, her wolf, Nymeria sailed away, left. I think she's got to go. She's going to have to sail away when it's all said and done.
Well, you actually bring up an interesting point there as well, because I know at least in the books they mention, maybe there are lands to the west of Westeros. They might not address that in the show, but it would be kind of cool to see the possibility of Arya going somewhere completely undiscovered in the series, at least so far. I mean, they probably wouldn't develop that whole arc much, but it'd be kind of cool if they ended up with Arya traveling west, see what lies out there.
No, Dad, we just had like 100 and something people. Now we're up to 135. Thank you for everyone joining us, and people keep joining up. We have a question here from Leslie Powell. It says, will House Lannister end because of what they did to the Reigns, Red Wedding, King slaying, and kinslaying? Will the reigns of will House Lannister end?
Well, there's Tyrion left. I mean, there's Cersei as well, but I don't think things end well for her or for Jamie personally. What do you think, Tony?
I think they should end. I think that it should be the end of them. I think when if your legacy is built on ending someone else's legacy, I think in the end, in the books, that has to happen to you. So that would be the reason. Now, a lot of people think Tyrion's going to survive. That would be the only hiccup. It would be Tyrion surviving and stuff if it was going to be anything, So
that's true. That's true. And you bring a good point there, actually, about houses that do shitty things to other houses ending. Look at the Boltons in the TV show, and look at the phrase. Both houses wiped out completely at this point, except for the women of the
Freys are never good.
Yeah,
they're in the Freys are really like the Tullys. The Tullys supposed to be in everyone's family, but it's not the Tullys, it's the Freys.
Oh yeah, especially the show.
they've gotten around to everybody's family. So we'll stay in the North a little bit since we're messing around with the North and stuff. So I did a video recently and I said that there are going to be main characters that are going to be turned into whites and have to fight regular characters. It's going to be a devastating situation. So out of the main people that we see, if they're going to be a couple of them turn into whites, Charlie, who think would be one of the people that would be some of the people that would be turned into whites and have to fight against the main characters?
Well, the ones that immediately come to mind, they're not necessarily main characters at this point, but the two kids, I think it's Alice Karstark and it was another boy called Ned, the Umber boy and the Karstark girl, basically. In the TV show specifically, it's kind of it'd be kind of sad in a way because, Jon effectively let these two kids survive and rule over their original ancestral homes. But with the White Walkers coming and the undead, I think those are probably going to be some of the first whites that the people of Winterfell are going to encounter once that army just pours down. Because there's no way that those two, the Umbers and the Karstarks can hold off the Whites and White Walkers at their respective keeps. They're, kind of done for. In terms of actual main characters now, Nicolina is going to kill me for this, but was it Nicolina? Yeah, I think Nico and both T-Baby like this character. Tormund, though, I don't know.
That's T-Baby's guy.
T-Baby guy, yeah. Oh, right. Nico likes Jamie. I think he's going to be off, too, but we'll save that for later. Yeah, Tormund. He's one of the main characters. I have a hunch, I don't know. Again, there's not much developed around him for that, but don't see it going well for him. In terms of other main characters, and we're going maybe too far stuff, and we're going really, really main characters here, but in a way I could see Cersei being turned into white, but at the same time, I do wonder if she isn't meant to be kind of like the main villain in the series, where they kind of deal with the Night's King first, and then Cersei is like the last villain to kind of be dealt with in the whole TV series specifically. But that's neither here nor there. Man. I want to say either. I think actually I watched one of your videos about this, and I don't know if you mentioned. I think you mentioned them in that video, but either you mentioned both of them. But I think either Bronn or Pod get killed off, and whichever one gets killed off becomes a White Walker. It'd be so tragic, especially for Tyrion, because those are like his only two real friends in the show. Other than that, I can't really think of any immediate characters, especially not for the beginning of the season. Do you have any thoughts?
I think Grey Worm is gonna go.
Really?
Yes,
you mentioned that.
I think someone has to be from that everyone cares about, and I don't know anyone else that Danny would have if she still had Margot, from the Dothraki. I think it would be him, but since his head was, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, the guy whose head was chopped off and stuffed in the bag. If she still had him, I think it would have been him. But since Grey Worm is now kind of like him to me, I think Grey Worm. I think Grey Worm may turn to a white and kill Melisandre. I think it's possible it could go down like that. That would be crazy, and that would be very scary. If I don't want to see her die, but I think that it's possible that it can go down like that.
That would be rough. Killed off Melisandre.
It's good to Tormund, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. He can't survive this. No. He can't survive this. I mean, there's got to be some type of. I mean, I don't know. Maybe in the show, because I guess you want to have some type of free folk that survive, and if it's not him, who will it be?
There's not really any free folk left other than Gilly, though. That's the thing, and I guess her baby.
Yeah. So maybe that would be the only reason I could see him making it, is that they don't have a bunch of other free folk around.
Yeah,
but I think that I don't know.
But at the same time, they had no concerns about killing off like all of Dorne. They had no concerns about killing off, finishing off the rest of the giants, finishing off the children of the forest. So who knows? They could very well have no qualms with killing off the free folk too.
Yeah, it could be, but everyone hated Dorne.
That's fair.
They hated Dorne. They just wanted to get away from that place. They did anything to get away from there. It was so bad for them to do it.
Oh man,
we definitely have a couple more questions here. We're gonna take these questions real quick before we go into the next segment. This is from My Name Is My Name. No, my name is my name. That is from Wire Marlowe right there. What do you think the chances of there being a government at the end of all this? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think whatever. Well, I think this question kind of has two implications, and you kind of mentioned, or My Name Is My Name kind of mentioned it in this question about Cersei most likely destroying King's Landing with wildfire, and Danny whole thing about destroying the wheel. I definitely think. Well, if we suppose that Danny dies off or gets killed off, which at this point I'm thinking it's going to happen, I think King's Landing also gets completely wiped out as well, because King's Landing was built by the Targaryens, and Danny has kind of maybe not the last real Targaryen, but the last visibly recognizable Targaryen. If she gets killed off, it would be kind of fitting that the city that Targaryens founded also gets destroyed. It'd also be kind of interesting if she was the one who does it, actually. I think if she, looking for Cersei or whatever, ends up destroying the city herself. Be kind of poetic there. But going back to the whole question about the government specifically, though, I think whatever happens at the end of the whole story, when all is said and done, when the White Walkers, the Whites, have ravaged most of the land, when most of the houses are all wiped out, James and LaDonna have kind of talked about this a little bit. They talked about this idea that there's going to be democracy in Westeros. I don't know if I'll go so far to say that, but I don't think the government will be at all what it is before, the series or before the events of Game of Thrones with, 7 great houses and a king. I think there could very well be a ruler, like a kingly ruler, who will obviously be Jon Snow. But I think that the way things run will be very different in the sense that I don't think power will be concentrated within specific great houses all the land. I think it's going to be just, one central government ruling all of Westeros without really any distinction for, House Dorne in the south and the Tyrells in the west and north of there being the Lannisters and so on and so forth. I think it's going to kind of just be, power concentrated in one location. I think it'd be cool if they kind of create some form of, early democracy, but I don't know if I would go so far as to say that. And I don't know if it's something that they would abort or they would address in the show either, considering, there's a lot of things to have to deal with in this last season with only 6 episodes. Discussing who gets to rule and how ruling is going to work in the end doesn't seem that important versus the storyline. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, I think that I don't know the government. No, I think you're going to get what you're going to get. There'll be an Iron Throne. I know people want the Iron Throne to be melted down. I don't think you're going to have all these people fighting for this throne the whole time, and at the end, it's just done. As for setting up governments, it takes a long time. You see how it is hard to elect people here? I don't think they're going to be able to go into a whole situation of the Senate and everything else. Quite possibly later on it goes into that, but I think right now we're fighting to see who's going to be sitting on the Iron Throne when it's all said and done. And I just think that there's got to be some type of Iron Throne or something. So I do not believe there will be a Senate. We have a question from Catherine Ash, and she says, could Melisandre become a white if she plays the part of Nyssa and the warmth is removed from her? Oh, so let's take it the first part. Is Melisandre playing the part of Nyssa?
Man, it's funny because I almost feel like the whole Azor Ahai story, which doesn't get really highlighted in the TV show, by the way, is necessarily going to play out or is even really an important aspect of the show. I think Tony is onto something when you mentioned that that you see her becoming a White Walker or even a White in the show. Definitely. If she plays the role of Nyssa specifically, that I'm not sure about. Not for the show anyway, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think if we're going to see a Nyssa in the show, it's got to be Danny. I think the number one thing that we seen about Nyssa that people are overlooking is that he loved her. This was his wife, someone he loved. Jon Snow doesn't love Melisandre. It was a sacrifice that he had to do. He had to give up his wife to save the realm. To give up Melisandre to save the realm, Sir Davos will jump right up and say, I'll be the first one to do it. Right? A bunch of people would say that. That's like saying, let's sacrifice Cersei to save the realm. It has to be a sacrifice if it's someone that you don't care about. So I think that when it comes down to it, if it's going to be anyone, there's no way that it cannot be Daenerys. Has to be Daenerys. She has to get stabbed in the heart. If she's going to die, that's how she's going. I know a lot of people want to say childbirth, and that sounds good. It really does. But I really would have to say that if we're going to do it as Azor Ahai and we're going to do a Nyssa, she's got to be the Nyssa, and she's got to get stabbed up.
I agree with the Nyssa part being Daenerys if they do go that route, but I'm hesitant to say that that's going to happen, with the whole stabbing in the heart of the show. For me, childbirth does seem to make more sense just because of how her character was introduced in season 1. She basically sacrificed her child to try to have her husband or try to make sure her husband lived, and that kind of flopped. it would be in this case poetic justice, or you know, the kind of everything coming full circle if Danny sacrifices her own life for her child to survive. You know, making it more of a much more selfless sacrifice, and that she's actually giving up her own life for her child. But if it ends up being a niece sacrifice with a sword in the stomach, then I guess theoretically, you know, she's giving up her life to save the world, which also in a way works with that, you know, imagery, if you will. So I guess we'll see.
I think it works for her because I think that when we've seen from Daenerys and a lot of these Targaryens that they're very privileged. She feels that, you know, they feel like, you know, her brother especially felt like, hey, you know, it's my right to own this throne. Now she's going about it a different way, but she's still basically saying it's my right. I think that we've seen Stannis Baratheon realize, hey, I have to save the realm in order to become the king. He realized it wasn't right. He has to do this, just for the realm. So I think she needs to do that. And I think her sacrificing herself and telling Jon, listen, like she learns about the prophecy beforehand, and she tells Jon, hey, this is what needs to be done. Jon doesn't want to do it. And I think it could be a type of situation where she pulls Jon into her and drives the sword through herself. So he's doing it, but he's not doing it. She's doing it for him. You know what I mean? A type situation like that. That would allow her to die. I could see that happening all day.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely there's going to be some kind of bittersweet ending there.
No doubt. Sailor Diva wants to know, is the Night King ever going to speak? Are we going to hear him speak?
Oh, man. I think, you know, you actually addressed this in one of your last videos, Tony, and I watched it not long ago. It was about the idea that Bran is going to be stuck in the Night's King. Personally, I don't think he's ever going to talk. I think it kind of, not to say it would ruin the character, but I think it would be, you know, almost giving up too much information, ruin a certain mystery of that character. So I don't think so personally. But will we get a glimpse of how the Night's King's mind works? Maybe, you know, especially if that whole theory you had about Bran getting stuck in his mind, maybe we'll get a glimpse of what's going on there, what's motivating him to kind of invade all of Westeros. You know, what's the true, maybe not motives, but what's the, I guess, the rationale behind it, you know, rather than just being a simple weapon of mass destruction accidentally created by the children of the forest.
No doubt about it. What up to Emma James Desborough? Chilling, watching at 3:50 a.m.
What?
Thank you so much for chilling here with me and my man Charlie in Westeros and doing all this. And then thank you for everyone out here, the 122 people chilling with us. All this, you know, this is what it is. Love talking Game of Thrones. Love talking about season 8. Melisandre has a very important role to play. So does Danny. I think that it's already foreshadowed. Yeah, I think Melisandre said it. She said it last season. And people don't want to listen to what the woman's saying. She said it. She says, she goes, Jon Snow is blah, 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 the prince that is promised. And then Melisandre goes, wait, the prince that is promised could be taken as a woman. And then Danny says, I like the way that sounds. What do you believe in that? And then Melisandre goes, I believe you have a part to play. Period. She didn't say you're the prince that was promised. I believe you have a part to play. She knows the part she has to play. The Nisa part. She's not going to tell her that. And then you see Danny also focus on Jon Snow, and she tells him, what did he mean about taking a knife to the heart? You know, she says that. Why would they bring that up again unless this is something she has to do? Jon Snow's already done it. He's taken a knife to the heart for the realm. He's already sacrificed himself. Now it's time for her to sacrifice herself.
That's what's up. I agree, honestly. And until tonight, I never thought I would say, you know, a year ago or two, being a Danny diehard, but I think last season kind of gave strong indications as to where her character arc is going and what the end result is for her, and that is, whether it's by a sword or by childbirth, it is to sacrifice herself for the greater good.
I think it works, but I mean, the childbirth theory sounds good. It does work. You know what I mean? It does work, and it sounds good as possible. but I just don't see it. I think she's got to get I think she's got to get sacrificed. So we gone through them. Let's talk a little bit quick about Sansa Stark and what's got everyone hates Sansa Stark. That is a big thing going around, Charlie. I did a little video about it. A lot of people done videos about it. Talked about this Sansa situation. There's a lot of foreshadowing, especially the red hair, that possibly Jon Snow and Sansa Stark could hook up. We know that George R. R. Martin at one time wanted Arya and Jon Snow to hook up. So do you think that it's possible? We're going to talk, what do you think is going to happen to Sansa? But is it possible to you that her and Jon Snow get together and they rule the Seven Kingdoms?
Oh, man. I mean, the idea of it is a bit weird, especially considering, you know, we were introduced to them as siblings. Granted, we now know that they're more like cousins than actual siblings, which makes it a little bit less weird. Granted, Targaryens have done stranger things, so, you know, it's not completely out of question. I just get the impression that that Jon's story arc in the TV show so far hasn't given any indication that he is meant to be with Sansa. The only part of that kind of makes sense is that Sansa has kind of been built up as a character to eventually rule something or some part of Westeros, so it wouldn't make sense in that respect that maybe there is a possibility that she ends up with Jon Snow. But in terms of just the weirdness level of it, I don't really see the show the show creators going that route. I personally see her. I honestly, your theory of her marrying Gendry makes a lot more sense than her marrying Jon Snow in the circumstances. I'd be more inclined to say maybe she even ends up with Tyrion Lannister after all is said and done. But you know, that's a whole other storyline there.
Now let's talk about that's crazy, Charlie, because you made me think of something real quick right here, and this is coming off the top of the dome just because of what you said to me right now. What's now that? We hear Sansa Stark. She said in her clip, "I'm going to marry Joffrey, and I'm going to give him sons with blonde hair." All right.
Yeah.
What if Tyrion Lannister? Now we talked about the House Lannister ending and Stark not doing it. What if she does get with Tyrion and Tyrion takes the Stark name and gives up the Lannister name? I don't want nothing to do with Lannisters anymore. I'm not a part of Lannisters anymore. I want to be a Stark. And he becomes Tyrion Stark. And then she does have her blonde hair babies that she wanted to have with Joffrey, but she has them with Tyrion.
You know, and that kind of it both resolves the issue of not being any more Lannisters than all of a sudden, and it kind of resolves the succession issue with the Starks in the north in a way. So that would make sense. And you know, they are married. They were married. You know, the eyes of the seven gods or whatever the case may be. And granted, the marriage was never consummated, but given all the pretty rough relationships Sansa has had with her previous husbands in both. Well, I guess maybe not. She wasn't married to Joffrey, but you know there was still that idea there. It was rough with Joffrey when she got married to Ramsay. It was not a pretty thing. So maybe she'll just tell herself, you know, well, my marriage to Tyrion was the best one considering this guy treated me right. I'm just going to stick with him and call it a day, despite the fact that he's not, you know, he's an older guy. He's a dwarf. He's still, you know, in this world of horrible human beings, he's still not that bad, all things considered.
It could be. Let's go to the chat. What do you think about this? Tyrion Stark. Maybe do a video on it. I just thought of it right now. That sounds crazy to me. What do you think? Is it a possibility that Tyrion changes his name to Stark and goes with Sansa and marries Sansa because he's just disgusted with his whole family and everything that they does? They want to be associated with him and stuff. Is it quite possibly that it could go like that? K Love says Tyrion will never be a Stark. Never be a Stark.
Sailor Diva says Sansa will take Yara as her wife.
Yara would definitely be down with that.
Although I think Daenerys Yara is more likely than that.
Scott McCloy says no way. We have Kaz Girl says nah. Judy Garcia says never know what got. And you never know what got. You never do know. I mean, it seems weird, but it does actually fit two situations. It plugs them up right there, two holes. And it makes George R. R. Martin's, I guess, favorite character not pass away, Tyrion Lannister. which is something like that. She said, we got India Carter says Sansa's disgusted with the look of Tyrion, but after all of it's said and done, she may realize that it's quite possible it doesn't matter what you look like. It's all about how it counts on the inside. We got Here's Dan says possible. You know what I mean? It's quite possible. That's the first person that agreed, so I had to say it is possible. I do think it's possible. Nancy T says no name change, but I think they do get back together. I don't know. It just seems so cliche. Why is Sansa always got to be with the ugly guy? She's either going to be with the Hound or she's going to be with Tyrion.
And that's LaDonna's favorite theory. The Hound and Sansa. Do you think that could happen?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think the Hound's got to die.
Really?
Why would he make it to the end? What makes it so important that I think the Cleganes are tied to the Lannisters, and just like you heard them say, another blah 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 Lannister, and there's another fucked up plan by a Lannister, and there's always been a Clegane to help them see it out. So I think that if House Lannister dies, you got to have House Clegane die to see it out.
Although technically, Tony, Sandor has never been knighted. So theoretically, if Gregor just gets off, there isn't really a house if Sandor renounces his status, his noble status that he's technically entitled to. Just a thought, and that also comes into another thought potentially with the government question earlier. I mean, I could very well see Jon Snow coming to power and just saying, no more knights, no more lords, no more ladies. Everyone, we're all just people. Whether people are farmers, whether they choose to be soldiers. We're going to do away with this old system, but I'm digressing there. But back to the Sandor thing, or I guess the Hound thing. I still have trouble buying into the fact that he would marry Sansa, but whether he dies or not, I think he has an important role to play. And maybe it's just to kill his brother in Cleganebowl. Maybe it's something bigger.
I mean, it has to be something. I mean, and the books is different. The Gravedigger. I think it's a really good thing in the books that if he just became the Gravedigger and he just stayed there and never came back again and that was it, that would be a good ending for his character. But I don't think it's going to be like that. He's got too much of a role to play. I do think he has to kill his brother when it's all said and done. I think that's what's going to happen with him this season. Is his climax is going to be, I think he's going to kill his brother. And most likely, this also goes back to the fire situation, that he's afraid of fire. His brother put his face in fire. So in the end, will he put his brother on fire, get his brother eaten by a dragon or set on fire by a dragon for him to go out like that? Or it could be some situation like that.
Any other questions coming up?
Huh?
Any other questions there from?
Yeah, we have a bunch. Joanna K says, do you think that Jamie will die in the arms of Brienne?
I think Tormund will die in Brienne's arms. But I don't know. I don't see Jamie and Brienne being reunited anytime in this series. But I don't know. That's a good question. I think Brienne's arc's kind of stuck with Sansa at this point. And whether that is to live out the storyline and keep serving Sansa, or if it's to die in sacrificing herself to protect her lady, those are the options I see for her. I don't really see her so much associated with Jamie anymore. I think Jamie's arc is kind of focused on his animosity towards his sister and Queen Cersei, and then probably to kill her off, to be honest. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know about the arms of Brienne. I'm not sure. I think they're both going to die. I think it would be fitting for him to go out like that, but I don't think it would be that way. I think the woman he loved is Cersei, so if he's going to die, he's got to die in Cersei's arms. That's the woman he loved, regardless of how he feels about Brienne. But the woman he truly loved was Cersei from the beginning. So if he's going to die in their arms, they're going to die together. They came in the world together. They're going to go out together. They both got it. If he's going out, then that's the only way I could see it going out. Herb Coswell asks, what do you think Gendry was brought back why do you think Gendry was brought back? I personally believe it was the forged dragonglass steel and possibly a romance with Arya. What do you think is Gendry was brought? He was brought back for a reason. He's going for a long time. He's rowing boat for a long time. They did bring him back. It could not have been just for what we've seen. That was nothing. They hit a couple of White Walkers in the face and escape on a boat. Makes no sense. So why is this man back?
Well, I think Herb kind of hit the nail on the hammer there when he said that forging dragon glass is probably a big reason to have him, considering he is a blacksmith. Arya is, something I've mentioned earlier. I know you're more inclined to think that he ends up with Sansa, but clearly, whoever he ends up with, I think, at least we both think he's going to marry someone important in the series and have some significant role after all said and done. And it sounds like you think he's also going to survive. But in terms of events in season 8, I really think his main role is to either forge dragon glass into weapons. And, what I think would be cool is if they actually kind of take something from the book series with Euron and his dragon glass armor and make one for Jon Snow instead. But that's just me hoping.
I want to see that Valyrian steel armor so bad. I would like to see. I want to see some armor like that. I don't know if we're going to see it in the show. I really don't, because they're so all about the Stark and this having a northern look and stuff. I don't know if they're really going to have him. I mean, I would think that before it's all said and done, you should see Jon Snow in some type of Targaryen with a Targaryen symbol on him, right? You'd think that at some point.
I'm going to Rhaegar. Like, they make a big deal of Rhaegar's armor when he gets defeated by Robert in book 1. So it'd be kind of cool to see something like that come back again, at least in the show. I mean, definitely in the book series will happen, but
you could put that right in the Crypts of Winterfell, it'd be fine, and you have it.
That's true.
That's the easy way to do it real quick and stuff. Well, I know, Charlie. I know you at school and everything else, and you out. It's 11 o'clock. It's late tonight, and we're not going to go all night, folks.
Unfortunately.
But we'll do this again. We'll come back and continue with the people that we have not finished off and stuff like that, and we'll get these done for you and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And so that is how we are going to run this. So you know where to find me, but what I want you to know is I want you to know where to find Charlie in Westeros. So Charlie, there obviously will be a link in the description box to the channel. So if you don't know where to find Charlie, please let them know where they can find you.
Thanks, Tony. Yep, my channel is Charlie in Westeros. I think those of you who follow the Small Council probably recognize me. But for those of you who don't, that's where you can find my channel. Tony, thank you so much for having me on your channel. I think it's awesome that I got to finally be back on YouTube doing some discussions. Sorry about that. And I'm happy it's, with you, especially considering we've been through honestly so much on this platform together and talking about Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire for the past 5 years. I mean, not many people on YouTube can say they've been doing that consistently, or at least somewhat consistently, for that long. So thank you, buddy. I will definitely be giving you a mention on my channel as well. So, hopefully some of my people migrate to yours. But thanks so much. And I really want to continue this conversation, and hopefully we can get some Small Council people involved in the discussion sometime soon as well.
No doubt. And as always, Charlie, as I said earlier when I first started, I am honored to call you friend. We started this thing together. We're going out. We going out together, but we staying in this thing. That's the way it is. We family, man. That's what it is. And people have asked me before they've seen the Patreon family tree. How can you get on the Patreon family tree? All you gotta do is become a Patreon. There's a level for any level of Patreon you on. There's a level for you to be on that family tree, and I'll put that at the end of every one of my videos. Also, Con of Thrones, please go to my GoFundMe page if you can to help a brother out. Help me get to the con, get the Don to the con. GoFundMe. That link is in the description. Also, we need Charlie in Westeros at the Con of Thrones. I'm trying to talk him into it. We're going to get him there. We're going to get him on some panels, and we're going to have Charlie in Westeros. I would love to have James Ladonna. I would love to have a Small Council live panel at the Con of Thrones, and I think I can make it happen, but I need the other people to get there. So if you like the way I do this, please thumbs up this, please spread this across the realm, and please subscribe. And until next time, you know who it is. Peace.
See you guys.